done on behalf of the largest city in the province, the economic engine of the province, where social equity and a degree of proper housing is something that is going to allow us to continue to have this city serve the role that it does in leading the province to prosperity and to fairness. So that's why I'm here today. I've tried to share these facts with you, and I'm happy to answer your questions on this or anything else. And we're just going to let the media ask. Okay.
I noticed that there's not a single resident in the, actually, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I'm being disrespectful. Thanks for coming. Thanks for representing the residents of Crawford Village. And Gary, thanks for doing that as well. There's not a single resident in this room. And I know you're speaking to others. Maybe the Premier, maybe the Prime Minister, and you're speaking to the ones out there who can relate to this. And that's good, that's very good. We need funding. And I can tell you straight, I'm 62 years old, I've been in this neighborhood for 41 years. I do not live in housing, but I advocate for people who live in housing. We can talk about putting up new structures, but let's talk about why the structures decay, okay? Why is it we have so many outside contractors coming to these buildings doing substandard work for so many years, and there are no checks and balances? And I can tell you this, I can speak with authority because I've been here for 41 years, okay? Why is it the potholes on the way in? I've been asking management and TCHC for the last 7 years to fill those potholes on the way in, and it never happened. Why, Mr. Mayor? Why? Okay? So we can talk about the structure, but once the structure is up, what about the people living in the building and how they're being treated? And I tell you why they're being treated a certain way. Because the people in this building, they're usually, let's say, an abused mother. She jumps the line and she gets in. Someone with some issues, they jump in. But where is the social support for the people in the building? You did this so eloquently, and that's good. Okay? When the swimming pool was closed, not a single meeting was called to consult with the residents who used to use the pool, right? So there's an attitude towards people living in social housing. There's a big attitude. And it shouldn't take a management company. I've got a full-time job. This is not my job, but why am I volunteering and going to that office, 3 visits, asking them to fix the pothole for over 7 years and more, and the potholes have never been fixed. I've been on the scene when the last murder happened, and when the last murder happened, that door was still busted. When Mayor Wynne from CBC interviewed me about 6 years ago, we talk about cameras which are up, but cameras which are not functioning. We talk about broken doors in this building all the time. So, you know what? It's an attitude towards people in social housing. Let's keep it real, Mr. Mayor. The buildings are fine. Here's another thing.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up.
I'm going to be short.
Okay.
There is something in TCHC where the residents should be trained so they can be employed. I don't know if it's a 10% of the job where the residents should be involved and engaged. I don't believe that's happening. So why are outsiders coming into our community, getting rich, and going back to their communities, whether it be Richmond Hill, Markham and whatever, and leaving our community poor from the rich construction jobs and the lack of oversight, shoddy work, shoddy workmanship, and the building fall apart, Mr. Mayor. Let's keep it real, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I want to thank you for the comments. I'll just say 2 things. First of all, I think the point you make about trying to engage the residents in helping us do some of these repairs is a good one. As you know, there are a number of rules that make that not easy to achieve, but I think it's something we should be striving to do. The second thing I want to say in defense of the management here, sir, is that when it comes to things, I just confirmed upstairs with a very capable manager of this building who seems to be well liked and well respected by the residents, that as fast as they fix a door, as fast as they fix it, the same day, the trouble causers that we did take steps last week to try to get out of these buildings or to keep out when they're not supposed to be here, break the doors again. And as fast as cameras are installed, and we've installed a huge number of new cameras across the housing system this year, they're spray painted over or broken by people who don't want those cameras to work. And so I would have said that it's an almost impossible task for them to keep up with that. But I take your point. I take your point with respect to some of the time it takes to get some of these things done. I take your point with respect to the quality quality of the work sometimes not being what it should be. And, you know, I can only tell you that, first of all, we have to actually get some of these repairs done and have the money to do them. And then I think it's our job, once we have that money, which I'm here today asking for from the other governments, to make sure there is a quality to those jobs and to the people who do them that is satisfactory. And secondly, to see if there's an opportunity for residents to become involved, knowing there are many rules to do with safety, to do with labor relations and so on, that make it not just as simple as us snapping our finger and saying, well, the residents should help do these repairs. It's not as I wish it was that simple. So, all right. Now, I take the point on that. I take your point. I'm not familiar with the history of that. I'm not familiar with that. Well, I hear you, and I thank you for bringing that to my attention. And I can assure you I'll be asking about the potholes when I leave here today. But so let's have the media ask their questions now. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, but I was going to ask a question before.
I know, but I just, otherwise what happens, I'm happy to let you make a talk like the other gentleman did, but I'm trying to have a news conference here, and if I can get them to ask their questions so that they can go about their business, then I'm happy to spend more time with you. And
I would like
okay, well, can you make a 2-minute talk then? We gave the other gentleman quite a long time. Why don't you go ahead and do that then?
Yeah, well, I'm president of the neighborhood association
Yes.
for this area. And with regards to residents not being informed, I mean, the same way residents are actually, I mean, you're calling a press conference. I'm not, like the previous gentleman said, we're really happy to have you in this building because this building does need some attention. However, I think similar steps could have been made in terms of engaging the residents of this community to come out instead of it being political. And I would like to see some more interest into making sure that, first of all, the resources that have been coming in, people are being made made accountable for what's happening to the resources that are coming into the community, as well as people being made accountable and not just blaming crime, because that's where I'm seeing the focus going. And most of the time, criminal elements that are coming in, most of the time they don't belong to this community. That's what we've seen, and that's basically a fact. But instead of the focus being negatively focused on crime, I think we definitely need to find the time to support, just like we're finding the time right now to talk about what the province isn't doing. We have called your office many times. I've sent numerous complaints. This building has actually, I've put this building in the news before because of the fallen bricks, because of the no hot water. And like the gentleman said, I will tell you, there is an attitude towards people in poverty. And this is why we have the problems. Because the same time that you're taking right now, we would like to see the same interest taken into issues that residents are facing before it gets to criminal elements. And we would like to see resources put into actually upkeeping the security. We don't see that. And I can tell you that residents who live here will tell you there's no effort.
Yeah,
and there's no accountability, and the accountability is the problem. We don't have accountability passed on to people who are in position. Mr. Crawford, actually, this building and all of these issues has been around for years, and we feel as though we're being used right now.
Yeah.
As a ploy between the governments.
I would respectfully disagree with you
on that because
you see, no, but I would respectfully disagree with you because I think, ma'am, can I have a turn now? I would respectfully disagree with you.
They're not treated like that.
I would respectfully disagree with you and say that the evidence of the fact that the buildings are not being ignored comes in and we can never do enough. And I'm making the point here, we need a lot more money to do a lot more, both on the repair side, but also the social side.
Money.
No, well, actually, with respect, ma'am, whether you're talking about security costs, whether you're talking about fixing potholes, or whether you're talking about fixing balconies or fixing elevators, it isn't all money, but a lot of it is, because every one of those things have a cost to them. And I'm saying right now that the city of Toronto, with its its resources cannot cope with this alone. And I will say to you that I think people who look outside, who are visiting here, will see a lot is going on here, probably in direct response. And I thank you for the fact that you were an activist who spoke up. And so balconies are being replaced. The outside walls are being replaced. I'm here saying we need to do more by way of repairs, but there's a lot of repairs already being done. Can we and should we be doing more? Absolutely. And should we be doing more on what you will call, or what I would call, the social side of this? Yes, we should.
We need your support.
Well,
when we don't have the support, our neighborhood association and the residents and the support system and the few residents that are trying to do things don't have the support, don't have your support, and don't have Councillor Crawford support in getting
I actually
some
would,
of these
again,
things done.
ma'am.
I know he does care, but we don't see the action behind the words, and we need to see the action.
I would respectfully disagree with you and say that what we did was we had a task force on Toronto community housing that went out and talked to thousands of residents, including people here, and they identified the top two issues. The top one they identified was security. And we've taken a number of steps, and I didn't bring the list with me so I can enumerate what we've tried to do with cameras and increased security guards and fixing doors and all kinds of things. And the second issue was the state of repair of the housing, and that's why I'm here today. I mean, the City of Toronto has put $1 billion into trying to repair this and many other buildings across the city, and I'm saying I need the help of the other governments to do that part of it. And I recognize you're saying very clearly, and I respect it and I understand it, that that's not the only problem. There are what I'll call social problems.
We need when we call out to you and when we call out to Councillor Crawford and the people that are in position to help, we would like to see two-way communication, and we would like to see that our voices are being heard. We actually had to have a community walk to highlight these issues in this area because we weren't being heard. And sometimes we have to actually go that extra step because we're not respected. And we would like to see that change. And until that is changed, then we will actually have some, because we would like to support you, and we would like to also have your support, because it's two-way.
Well, I will commit two things to you that you've raised. The first is if there's a benefit to be derived from us coming back and having a meeting with you that we can hopefully have as a constructive discussion of all of these different issues, I'm quite happy to come back and do that, and do it without it being a big media event, but just come back and have a discussion with whatever group you want to assemble to discuss these issues. And the second thing I will do is pledge to you that I will have the Housing Corporation take a look at what has been expended, because you implied that even the work that's being done now on the balconies and the outside of the building, there's some question on the accountability of that. I would not be familiar with that. Obviously, I would like to hope that the Housing Corporation and the contractors are doing a good job and value for money, but I will pledge to you to get them to report to me on that and to share that report with you so that you have what they have to say about that.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly I will tell you, I saw upstairs a repair that had been made where they took out the whole kitchen of a woman who lives up there, and lo and behold, within months of the repair being done, there were problems again with leaks that were causing mold and so forth. That wasn't necessarily bad work on the part of the contractor. It was the fact that from floors up above, more leaks started to happen and more water started to come down, which really just says you have to do the whole job like they're doing with the outside of the building at once. But I realize you're not talking entirely about repairs. You're talking about much more than that. And I pledged you just now that we will come back and we will sit here with your executive or whatever group you think is appropriate and talk in depth about some of these other issues. But I will also tell you that it is a team effort that we have to have undertaken by all of the governments, because they all have different responsibilities, as you know, to carry out different programs. We have a lot of government in this country, but they all have different responsibilities. And I would maybe see if we can bring with us at that time, because it might be useful to do it all at once, the local MPP and the local MP, so that we can all sit there together and have and maybe people from the Housing Corporation, and have a discussion with you, which I'll undertake to do. Now, if you just let me answer some of their questions, which don't always relate entirely to what I'm standing here talking about. It can be about other subjects, which is part of the job that I have. Now,